Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome to Bajoquinto 101. All of the basics and everything that you need to know if you want to start playing Bajoquinto for norteño music, corridos, campirano, any kind of style of music that utilizes Bajoquinto. You can learn all the basic things that you need today, like where to find your tonos, how to play some basic chord shapes, the basic major scale pattern, and how you can start having fun with it and learning any song that you want. All right, so let's get straight into it. If you want to go more in depth into your music theory and learn more about Bajoquinto, consider enrolling in my Bajoquinto music theory course, where we're going through everything from the very beginning to the most intermediate / advanced concepts that we can look at, like ear training, more jazzy chords, acordes de pasadas, all kind of really cool stuff. We're going to be taking a look at that in my music theory course. So send me a DM if you want to enroll on Instagram or on TikTok, Instagram preferably, but let me know and you can enroll and join that course. All right. So let's get straight into it. First things first, what you want to know is bajoquintos are a 10-string instrument. It's like guitar and bass hybrid, and they're tuned different than a guitar and a bass. So what we have here on bajoquinto is each string, we have paired strings, but we also have octaves on the lower strings. So we have an A string or la, and if I turn on my tuner here, you can see when I play this note together, we get an A note or la in Spanish. Then it would be re or D is the next two strings. Then G or sol. Then C or do. Then the last string, the skinniest string, is an F or fa. So it's A, D, G, C, F, or la, re, sol, do, fa. That's what the open strings are tuned to. Now, bajo sextos are the same thing as a bajoquinto, but we get a lower mi string on top of the la string that doesn't get used very often. It's very low. We don't really play a lot of notes there. We don't play a lot of acordes. So most bajo sexto players ended up taking that note and that string off and just sticking to the 5, and that's where we got now the bajoquinto. And so here on bajoquinto, it's really cool because each of those strings is tuned to the exact same interval, 4 notes apart from A to D. If we start at the note that we're on, then it's A, B, C, D. That's 4 notes. Or la, sol, no, sorry, la, si, do, re. And then from re to sol or D to G, it would be re, mi, fa, sol, or D, E, F, G. Same thing from G to C and from C to F. So those strings are tuned in what's called a fourth apart. And that means that all of our scale shapes and all of our patterns and our chords are going to be exactly identical. And they're going to be the exact same shapes and patterns that we can play on a bass and on the lower 4 strings of a guitar as well. So a lot of the scales, a lot of the chords are going to be almost identical to guitar. So if you're coming from the guitar from 6 or 12 string, you're already going to know a few shapes and maybe even a few scales that you can play here on bajoquinto. All right, so one thing that we want to understand is that each fret on the bajoquinto is a half step or medio tono. And so to find our tonos on the fretboard and thus where our acordes are going to go, we need to know the order of the tonos. So I have this picture here. You can see here that these are the tonos in the musical alphabet from C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and back to C, or in Spanish, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, and then back to do. Now, in between each of these tonos, we have what are called the sostenidos and the bemoles. Those are the accidental notes, the sharp and the flat notes that exist in between all of the tonos except for 2 of them. The only 2 tonos that don't have sostenidos are B and E in English, or mi and si in Spanish. And so in English, I tell people B and E don't have sharps. That's just how it be. And for Spanish, I tell them mi and si are missing tonos. They're missing sostenidos. They're the only tonos with no sostenidos. They're missing. Mi, si, missing sostenidos. So that's how you can remember. When we're going through the order of the tonos and each fret, we're almost always going to go to that same tono that we're on, but to the sostenido version of it, and then to the next tono that comes next. Then the sostenido version, then the next tono. The only time we won't go to the sostenido versions are if we're going from E to F, or mi to fa, and from C to do, or from B to C. It's a little confusing because C and C in English and Spanish kind of sound similar, but they're 2 different tonos. So that's why this diagram here is going to help you out a lot. And you can see here I have fretboard diagrams in English and in Spanish, where we have the open strings, la, re, sol, do, fa. This is from our perspective. This is also why I added this little shot here from our view so that you can see kind of the way we look down at the fretboard and how we're going to see these chord shapes. But as you can see, every time we move from do to in between do and re, we have do sostenido / re bemol. That's going to be moving up one fret or one traste on the bajoquinto. And so we got to internalize the order of the tonos: do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si. And we have to remember every tono has a sostenido and technically also a bemol. And so if we go up from do sostenido, that's one traste, that's sharpening the note from do up. But that same note can also be understood as re bemol or D flat. So bemol is going back, it's lowering the pitch of a note, and sostenido is increasing the pitch, so we're going up. So do sostenido and re bemol are on the same fret and they're the same tono, but when we call it either sostenido or bemol depends on the context. And you can learn more about that in my course if you guys enroll. But as long as we keep that in mind, then we can progress through the tonos, and we don't need this diagram if we just keep this in our head and we learn it and figure out how to proceed through our trastes. So if we do this, then we can see that the open string is la. So the first fret is going to be la sostenido or A sharp. Then we would have C, and C doesn't have a sostenido, it's missing a sostenido. So on the third fret would be do, then do sostenido, and then re. Now on stringed instruments like bajoquinto and guitar and bass, the fifth fret is really cool because this gives us the same note as our next open string. Our next open string is re, right? So if we continued past this re, we'd get all the other notes, but we could also just continue with our open re string and we're gonna get all the same notes. So don't worry too much about memorizing past the fifth fret, because if you just memorize the first five, you're gonna be good. And then if we were to go past re, then it would be open re and re sostenido. Then mi is missing a sostenido, so we got fa, and then fa sostenido. And so we would have fa sostenido, sol, and then we can keep going, sol sostenido, or go to the next open sol string. So as you're going to see, eventually we're just going to repeat all the tonos all on the fretboard, and they're just going to be in different spots because each string is tuned to a different note. But we're going to go through all the tonos that exist. There's 12 of them that exist. So once you get to the 12th fret, right here where I have these double dots, can you see there on the other perspective? There, we're going to get the same note as our open string. So once you get to the 12th fret, you're going to get through every single of the tonos. But we're not going to count up every single fret to try to find all of our tonos. What we're going to do instead is use these markers on our fretboard to help us find the start of our musical alphabet and of our tonos. And so here on the 3rd fret of our 4th string, we count from the bottom. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This will be the 4th string. This is where we find fa. This is our main place where we're going to find fa, where we're going to build our acorde or our escala. So if you need to find fa, it's always there. If we jump to the next dot, you're going to find sol. Jump to the next dot, there's la. So you can play fa mayor, sol mayor, la mayor. Same thing with all of the escalas too. That's why it's so important to learn where those root notes can be found and then learn the universal shapes that we put on those root notes. So there's fa, sol, and la. And if we keep going, then we would get si and do and all the other tonos. But eventually what we were going to do is, instead of continuing there, we would go down a string to the 3rd string, and here would be si bemol or la sostenido, but we almost always call it si bemol. So we'd have si bemol, si would be right next to it, but then do would be right here on the 5th fret, or on our 2nd dot on the fretboard, or on our 2nd marker. So right there, when you put your middle finger there and do this bajoquinto shape, we get do mayor. Go up to the next dot, that's re mayor. Go up to the next one, that's mi, and then you got fa once again. So you're just repeating all the notes. So we would have do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, and back to do. Those are all the tonos that exist in the musical alphabet. And if you learn those shapes right there, then you can play any tono, any escala that you want. You just got to know where to put it. So that's what you want to start and practice, because that's going to be the hard part. Once you get that down, you just got to remember all the sostenidos and the bemoles are going to be either up or down from those natural tonos. And once you get that down, then you learn the different chord shapes and you learn the escalas. So some of the main chord shapes that we're going to see on Bajoquinto is the 2-finger chord shape like this. Now this is mostly used when we're playing with other people, if there's a bajo, to do the root notes so that we can just play on the off beats. But that shape is just the same thing as what we're playing in the fa chord. When the fa chord, we're going to add the bajeo and we're playing these 2 notes, which is actually another fa. It's the exact same note. It's the octave of fa. And so anytime you want to find the octave of a note on a stringed instrument, you almost always can just go up 2 frets and down 2 strings. So that tells me that this here is fa. So if I want to play a simplified version of fa, I'll go here. Same thing, since sol is right here, 2 frets and 2 strings, tells me that this is sol. So I can play sol right there, la will be right there, etc., etc. So those would be the basic shape. And so if you're just starting and you're just playing, try just playing this shape here with your middle finger on the 2nd string, and then your index finger is going to be right behind it and on the string down. So just play this string and just strum the 2 strings that you're holding. This is going to get you a basic major chord, and you can do the bajeos too if you want. It's just a little weird. So most people will just play it like this. And then after that, once you get comfortable with that, you can go up to the 3rd string root or the sol string root chords, where we have this bajoquinto shape. And this one, we're just going to put our middle finger on the root. This would be do. Then our index finger is going to go behind it again in the same way. And then we're going to reach up 2 frets and 2 strings with our pinky to play the octave. This would be a regular major chord right here. So this would be do mayor. So that shape right there is actually going to allow you, if you start on any tono like fa, you can play this as what's called primera. And then if you go to the note right above it, that would be segunda. So this would be do. Do is actually the segunda in the tono de fa. And then if you want to find the tercera, you just go 2 frets back from the segunda. Si bemol is the tercera in fa, do, and then fa. It's the easiest way you can play any song. If you find the tonos or you use your ear to match it up and you find it, oh, we're in sol right here. Okay, so I'm playing here, playing along with them, and then you hear them change, then you go up to here. There you go, got it. Go back to tercera. All right, go back up to segunda and back to primera. Boom. You can already play 90% of songs just with that little pattern there. But eventually that's going to get boring and you're going to want to learn other shapes, right? So once you get more comfortable with that, you can then turn this shape into a dominant 7 chord by taking the octave back. So chords are all formulas from the major scale. This is also something you can learn from the music theory course. But a dominant 7 chord takes the 7th note of a major scale. So that would be a major 7 chord. And if you take that and flatten it, that makes it a dominant 7 chord. And that's what we play on segunda, on the quinto grado. So if we're playing fa, we play here and actually go up to a do siete. And that sounds a bit better and it fits a bit better with regional songs, especially classic norteño style songs. So you can do that, and that's going to give you a much better sound. But once you go back to tercera, you do want to play just a regular major chord. But then segunda, you play it as this chord, as a dominant 7. So this would be just a regular note with the 7 after it, like do siete or si7. Same thing if you went up to sol, you can do the same thing, but now you're going to play a re siete, and do is going to be the tercera. Re siete is segunda, sol is primera. And then if we went to la, we would have la as primera, mi siete as segunda, and re as tercera. There you go. So that's the main 2 shapes that you're going to use and that are going to help. And it's just going to flip if we start on the other note. So say we start on do. If we're starting here on do, then what we can do is, instead of going up to the note above us, because we can play this sol as a bajoquinto chord, but since the strings are so low, it doesn't really sound good. So what people would do is actually play here, this dominant chord, and then add their pinky here. And that gives you the octave of the 3rd. So that just makes it a bit fuller. But if you're struggling with this chord and you want to try an easier thing, what you can do is just do do as your primera and go up 2 frets and down. And that's going to give you sol as a simplified chord. So you can play primera as do and just go to sol here. And then go back 2 frets from segunda to find tercera, which is fa. Back to sol. There you go. So the more that you practice those patterns and those shapes, you're gonna see how prevalent that is in every single song. The classic songs that use bajoquinto, all of the Ramon y Ala songs, the Cadete songs, all of the Tigres del Norte, Los Invasores, pretty much everything, even Los Alegres del Barranco, even Canelos, they all use these main 3 major chords. And then once you get the hang of those, you can start learning the minor chords that are also in these tonos. And that's a whole different ball game, but you can get to that once you get to that. So we're just going to go over the basics today. So those are the basic chord shapes. And then the last one you would want to learn would be this one, which we just play this basic 2-finger chord shape, but we add the bajeo up here. So this is not a bar chord. I'm not barring all these strings. I'm just holding the bajeo and then I'm jumping over the sol string. I'm not playing it, I'm not fretting it, and I'm just strumming these. So it's kind of like a bounce between the bajeo strum and then the bajeo secundario. And so your bajeos are always going to be the root of your chord, whatever you're playing, and then the string right above it on the same fret. That's going to work for any of these chord shapes. So if you're here, that's the note that's always going to work over a major chord or a minor chord. It doesn't matter. Even if you go to do and you just play the note above it, that's your bajeo secundario. And when you play that depends on the rhythm. If you're in 2/4, 3/4, 6/8, all of that stuff, it gets a little complicated, especially boleros too that are in 4/4. All of that stuff is covered in my music theory course. So if you guys want to learn more about that, go ahead and send me a DM and enroll in that course. All right. So that's pretty much the basics there. The last little thing I want to show you guys here is just the basic major scale pattern that you can play for any tono. And this is going to help you to find all the notes you can do adornos using over primera, and the notes that are in the notes and the chords that are in the key that you're playing. So let's start on do here. Whenever you play this shape, you want to keep each of your 4 fingers on their own fret so that you can think of this as a pattern of fingers, but also as the frets you're playing. Not the numbers, but just where you're located. So if your middle finger is on the root of the tono you want to play, this would be C. So I'm going to play my middle finger, then I'm going to jump up a fret to my pinky. So middle, pinky. Then I'm going to go down a string and play index, middle, pinky. So middle, pinky, index, middle, pinky. Then when you go down to the next string, you're just going to do index, ring, pinky. That is the major scale for any tono. If you put that on re, that's going to give you the re mayor escala. Or middle, pinky, index, middle, pinky, index, ring, pinky. And in that escala, you can do any kind of adorno. And right there is where you're going to have a lot of fun messing with that, going up a certain amount of notes, going down. That's a really, really cool and the most important escala that you're going to learn on Bajoquinto, I guarantee it. Everything else that you're going to learn after that comes from that major scale pattern. So learn where to put your root notes, learn the chords that you can put down on there, and learn the scale patterns that you can put on all of those root notes, and you're going to be unstoppable. You're going to know everything that you need on Bajoquinto. Then you just got to practice a little bit more about the relationship of why those notes work together. And if you guys want to see other scale diagrams and you want to see Bajoquinto chords in every kind of chord we can kind of play, at least from the basic, major, and minor shapes, go check out my Instagram or my TikTok. I have a slideshow with all the chords on there. Or like I mentioned, if you join my Bajoquinto music theory course, in the Google Drive folder, I have diagrams and videos and folders and everything for Bajoquinto that you're going to need. So hopefully this video is helpful. It's pretty much the basics. With that alone, you can start to play pretty much any song and even start doing really cool adornos. And as you watch other people play, you're going to see what they're doing and they're following all those exact same patterns. All right. So thank you guys. Appreciate it. Let me know if you guys want to see any other videos like this for teclas, for, I already did tololoche, but maybe for requinto or bajo eléctrico. I did Music Theory 101 for the Bajoquinto, but I have courses for all of these instruments as well if you guys want to enroll and learn everything at your own pace. And if you want to do private lessons as well, send me a DM. We can get that sorted out. So thank you. Appreciate you guys, and I'll see you soon.